In the days of old, before the great flood covered the world, before the judgment of the Most High came upon the sons of men, there was a righteous man chosen by God. He was a wise man, a great artificer, and the Lord looked upon him with favor. The Most High received him so that he might behold the mysteries of the heavens, the uppermost dwellings of God, and become an eyewitness to the wise, great, and immutable realm of the Almighty. He would see the stations of the Lord's many-eyed servants brighter than the sun, the inaccessible throne of the Lord seated in boundless light, the degrees and manifestations of the elements in divine order, the various apparitions and the inexpressible singing of the cherubim, and the glory that no human eyes had ever seen. His name was Enoch, son of Jared, and he revealed the truth about the 10 heavens. The Lord brought him there, and everything he saw, he recorded in the Second Book of Enoch. Now, let us uncover his divine journey. At that time, he said, when my 165th year was completed, I begat my son, Methuselah. After this too I lived 200 years and completed all the years of my life, 365 years. On the first day of the month, I was in my house alone and was resting on my bed and slept. And when I was asleep, great distress came up into my heart, and I was weeping with my eyes in the sleep. And I could not understand what this distress was or what would happen to me. And there appeared to me 2 men, exceeding big, so that I never saw such on earth. Their faces were shining like the sun. Their eyes too were like a burning light, and from their lips was fire coming forth. With clothing and singing of various kinds in appearance, purple, their wings brighter than gold, their hands whiter than snow, they were standing at the head of my bed and began to call me by my name. And I rose from my sleep and saw clearly those 2 men standing in front of me. And I saluted them and was seized with fear, and the appearance of my face was changed from terror. And those men said to me, "Have courage, Enoch, do not fear. The eternal God sent us to you, and lo, you shall today ascend with us into heaven. And you shall tell your sons and all your household all that they shall do without you on earth, in your house, and that no one seek you, till the Lord return you to them." And I made haste to obey them, and went out from my house and made to the doors, as it was ordered me, and summoned my sons, Methuselah, Regem, and Gadad, and made known to them all the marvels those men had told me. Listen to me, my children. I know not whether I go or what will befall me. Now therefore, my children, I tell you, turn not from God before the face of the vain, who made not heaven and earth, for these shall perish, and those who worship them. And may the Lord make confident your hearts in the fear of him. And now, my children, let no one think to seek me until the Lord return me to you. And it came to pass, when Enoch had told his sons, that the angels took him on their wings and bore him up unto the first heaven, and placed him on the clouds. And there I looked, and again I looked higher and saw the ether. And they placed me on the first heaven, and showed me a very great sea, greater than the earthly sea. They brought before my face the elders and rulers of the stellar orders, and showed me 200 angels who ruled the stars and their services to the heavens, who fly with their wings and come round all those who sail. And here I looked down and saw the treasure houses of the snow, and the angels who keep their terrible storehouses, and the clouds, once they come out and into which they go. Then they showed me the treasure house of the dew, like oil of the olive, and the appearance of its form was as of all the flowers of the earth. Further, many angels were guarding the treasure houses of these things, and how they were made to shut and open. Then those men took me and led me up onto the second heaven, and showed me darkness greater than earthly darkness. And there I saw prisoners hanging, watching, and awaiting the great and boundless judgment. These angels were dark, looking more terrible than earthly darkness, and they were incessantly weeping through all hours. And I said to the men who were with me, "Wherefore are these incessantly tortured?" They answered me, "These are God's apostates, who obeyed not God's commands, but took counsel with their own will, and turned away with their prince, who also is fastened on the fifth heaven." And I felt great pity for them, and they saluted me and said to me, "Man of God, pray for us to the Lord." And I answered them, "Who am I, a mortal man, that I should pray for angels? Who knows where I go or what will befall me, or who will pray for me?" And those men took me thence and led me up onto the third heaven and placed me there. And I looked downwards and saw the produce of these places, such as has never been known for goodness. And I saw all the sweet flowering trees and beheld their fruits, which were sweet-smelling, and all the foods borne by them, bubbling with fragrant exaltation. And in the midst of the trees was the tree of life, in that place whereon the Lord rests when he goes up into paradise. And this tree is of ineffable goodness and fragrance, and adorned more than every existing thing. And on all sides it is in form gold-looking and vermilion and fire-like, and covers all. And it has produce from all fruits. Its root is in the garden at the earth's end, and paradise is between corruptibility and incorruptibility. And 2 springs come out, which send forth honey and milk, and their springs send forth oil and wine. And they separate into 4 parts, and go round with a quiet course, and go down into the paradise of Eden, between corruptibility and incorruptibility. And thence they go forth along the earth, and have a revolution to their circle, even as the other elements. And here there is no unfruitful tree, and every place is blessed. And there are 300 angels, very bright, who keep the garden, and with incessant sweet singing and never silent voices, serve the Lord throughout all days and hours. I said, "How very sweet is this place!" And those men said to me, "This place, O Enoch, is prepared for the righteous, who endure all manner of offense from those that exasperate their souls, who avert their eyes from iniquity and make righteous judgment, who give bread to the hungry and cover the naked with clothing, and raise up the fallen and help injured orphans, and who walk without fault before the face of the Lord and serve him alone. And for them this place is prepared for eternal inheritance." And those 2 men led me up onto the northern side, and showed me there a very terrible place. And there were all manner of tortures in that place, cruel darkness and unilluminated gloom. There is no light there, but murky fire constantly flaming aloft. And there is a fiery river coming forth, and that whole place is everywhere fire, and everywhere there is frost and ice, thirst and shivering, while the bonds are very cruel. And the angels were fearful and merciless, bearing angry weapons, bringing merciless torture. And I said, "Woe, woe, how very terrible is this place!" And those men said to me, "This place, O Enoch, is prepared for those who dishonor God, those who on earth practice sin against nature, which is child corruption, after the sort of mythic fashion, those who engage in magic-making, enchantments, and devilish witchcrafts, those who boast of their wicked deeds, stealing, lying, causing calamities, and spreading envy, rancor, fornication, and murder, those who are accursed and steal the souls of men, those who, seeing the poor, take away their goods and enrich themselves, injuring others for the sake of material gain, those who, being able to satisfy the hungry, instead let them die of starvation, those who, being able to clothe the naked, instead leave them to suffer, those who knew not their Creator, and bowed down to soulless and lifeless gods who can neither see nor hear, vain gods who also built human images and bowed down to unclean handiwork. For all these, this place is prepared as their eternal inheritance. Then those men took me and led me up onto the 4th heaven, and showed me all the successive goings and all the rays of light of the sun and moon. And I measured their goings and compared their light, and saw that the sun's light is greater than the moon's. Its circle and the wheels on which it goes are always like the wind, going past with very marvelous speed. And day and night it has no rest. Its passage and return are accompanied by 4 great stars, and each star has under it 1,000 stars, 4 to the right of the sun's wheel and 4 to the left, each having under it 1,000 stars. Altogether 8,000 stars issue forth with the sun continually by day. 15 myriads of angels attend to it, and by night 1,006 winged ones issue forth with the angels before the sun's wheel into the fiery flames, And 100 angels kindle the sun and set it alight. And I looked and saw other flying elements of the sun, whose names are phoenixes and Kal-Kadri, marvelous and wonderful. They have feet and tails in the form of a lion and a crocodile's head. Their appearance is empurpled like the rainbow, and their size is 900 measures. Their wings are like those of angels, and each has 12. They attend and accompany the sun, bearing heat and dew, as it is ordered to them from God. Thus the sun revolves and goes and rises under the heaven, and its course goes under the earth, with the light of its rays incessantly. Those men bore me away to the east and placed me at the sun's gates, where the sun goes forth according to the regulation of the seasons and the circuit of the months for the whole year, and the number of the hours of day and night. And I saw 6 gates open, each gate having 61 stadia and a quarter of 1 stadium. And I measured them truly and understood their size to be so much, through which the sun goes forth and goes to the west, becoming even and rising throughout all the months. Then it turns back again from the 6 gates according to the succession of the seasons. Thus the period of the whole year is finished after the returns of the 4 seasons. And again, those men led me away to the western parts and showed me 6 great gates open, corresponding to the eastern gates, opposite to where the sun sets according to the number of the days, 365 and a quarter. Thus again it goes down to the western gates and draws away its light, the greatness of its brightness under the earth. For since the crown of its shining is in heaven with the Lord, it is guarded by 400 angels, while the sun goes round on a wheel under the earth and stands 7 great hours in night. It spends half its course under the earth, and when it comes to the eastern approach, in the 8th hour of the night, it brings its light and the crown of shining. Then the sun flames forth more than fire. Then the elements of the sun, called phoenixes and Kal-Kadri, break into song. Therefore every bird flutters with its wings, rejoicing at the giver of light. And they broke into song at the command of the Lord, saying, The giver of light comes to give brightness to the whole world. And the morning god takes shape, which is the rays of the sun, and the sun of the earth goes out and receives its brightness, to light up the whole face of the earth. And they showed me this calculation of the sun's movement and the gates through which it enters. These are the great gates of the calculation of the hours of the year. For this reason, the sun is a great creation, whose circuit lasts 28 years and then begins again from the beginning. Those men showed me the other cause, that of the moon, 12 great gates, crowned from west to east, by which the moon goes in and out at customary times. It goes in at the first gate to the western places of the sun, by the first gate with 31 days exactly, by the second gate with 31 days exactly, by the third gate with 30 days exactly, by the fourth gate with 30 days exactly, by the fifth gate with 31 days exactly, by the sixth gate with 31 days exactly, by the seventh gate with 30 days exactly, by the 8th gate with 31 days perfectly, by the 9th gate with 31 days exactly, by the 10th gate with 30 days perfectly, by the 11th gate with 31 days exactly, by the 12th gate with 28 days exactly. And it goes through the western gates in the order and number of the eastern gates, and accomplishes the 365 and a quarter days of the solar year, while the lunar year has 354 days, and they are wanting to it 12 days of the solar circle, which are the lunar epochs of the whole year. Thus, the great circle contains 532 years. The quarter of a day is omitted for 3 years, the fourth fulfills it exactly. Therefore, they are taken outside of heaven for 3 years, and are not added to the number of days, because they change the time of the years to 2 new months towards completion and 2 others towards diminution. And when the western gates have finished, it returns and goes to the eastern gates, to the lights, and goes thus day and night, about the heavenly circles, lower than all circles, swifter than the heavenly winds, spirits, elements, and angels flying. Each angel has 6 wings, and it has a 7-fold course in 19 years. In the midst of the heavens I saw armed soldiers serving the Lord with tympana and organs, with incessant voice, sweet voice, and various singing, which it is impossible to describe, and which astonishes every mind. So wonderful and marvelous is the singing of those angels, and I was delighted listening to it. Then the men took me up to the fifth heaven and placed me there, and I saw many and countless soldiers called Grigori, of human appearance, and their size was greater than that of great giants. Their faces were withered, and the silence of their mouths was perpetual, and there was no service on the fifth heaven. I said to the men who were with me, "Wherefore are these very withered? Why are their faces melancholy and their mouths silent? And wherefore is there no service in this heaven?" And they said to me, "These are the Grigori, who, with their prince Satanael, rejected the Lord of light. After them, those who are held in great darkness are on the second heaven. 3 of them went down onto the earth from the Lord's throne to the place urban and broke through their vows on the shoulder of the Hillman. They saw the daughters of men, how good they were, and took to themselves wives, and befouled the earth with their deeds. They, in all times of their age, made lawlessness and mixing, and giants were born, marvelous big men of great enmity. Therefore God judged them with great judgment, and they weep for their brethren, and they will be punished on the Lord's great day." I said to the Grigori, "I saw your brethren, their works and their great torments. I prayed for them, but the Lord has condemned them to be under the earth, until the existing heaven and earth shall end forever." And I said, "Wherefore do you wait, brethren, and do not serve before the Lord's face? Why have you not put your services before the Lord's face, lest you anger your Lord utterly?" And they listened to my admonition and spoke to the 4 ranks in heaven. And lo, as I stood with those 2 men, 4 trumpets trumpeted together with a great voice, and the Grigori broke into song with one voice, and their voice went up before the Lord, pitifully and affectingly. And thence those men took me and bore me up to the 6th heaven, and there I saw 7 bands of angels, very bright and very glorious, and their faces shone more than the sun's shining, glistening. There was no difference in their faces, behavior, or manner of dress, and these make the orders, learn the goings of the stars, the alteration of the moon, the revolution of the sun, and the good government of the world. And when they see evil doing, they make commandments and instruction, and with sweet and loud singing and all songs of praise, they serve the Lord. These are the archangels, who are above angels, who measure all life in heaven and on earth. And there are the angels who are appointed over seasons and years, the angels who are over rivers and the sea, the angels who are over the fruits of the earth, the angels who are over every grass, giving food to all living things, the angels who write all the souls of men, all their deeds and their lives before the Lord's face. In their midst are 6 phoenixes, 6 cherubim, 6 winged ones, continually with one voice singing, and it is not possible to describe their singing, and they rejoice before the Lord at his footstool. And those 2 men lifted me up thence onto the 7th heaven. There I saw a very great light and fiery troops of great archangels, incorporeal forces, dominions, orders, governments, cherubim, seraphim, thrones, and many-eyed ones. There were 9 regiments, the ionic stations of light. I became afraid and began to tremble with great terror. And those men took me and led me after them and said to me, "Have courage, Enoch, do not fear." And they showed me the Lord from afar, sitting on his very high throne. But what is there on the 10th heaven? Since the Lord dwells there, on the 10th heaven is God. In the Hebrew tongue, he is called Aravat. And all the heavenly troops would come and stand on the 10 steps according to their rank, and would bow down to the Lord, and would again go to their places in joy and felicity, singing songs in the boundless light, with small and tender voices, gloriously serving him. And the cherubim and seraphim standing about the throne, the 6-winged and many-eyed ones, do not depart. They stand before the Lord's face, doing his will, and cover his whole throne, singing with a gentle voice before the Lord's face. Holy, holy, holy Lord, ruler of Sabaoth, heavens and earth are full of your glory. When I saw all these things, those men said to me, Enoch, thus far is it commanded us to journey with you. And those men went away from me, and thereupon I saw them no more, and I remained alone at the end of the seventh heaven. Then I became afraid and fell on my face and said to myself, Woe is me, what has befallen me? And the Lord sent one of his glorious ones, the archangel Gabriel, and he said to me, Have courage, Enoch, do not fear. Arise before the Lord's face into eternity. Arise, come with me. And I answered him and said in myself, My Lord, my soul has departed from me. From terror and trembling I called to the men who led me up to this place. On them I relied, and it is with them I go before the Lord's face. And Gabriel caught me up, as a leaf is caught up by the wind, and placed me before the Lord's face. And I saw the eighth heaven, which is called in the Hebrew tongue, Muzeloth, changer of the seasons, of drought and wet, and of the 12 constellations in the circle of the firmament, which are above the seventh heaven. And I saw the ninth heaven, which is called in Hebrew Kuchavim, where are the heavenly homes of the 12 constellations of the circle of the firmament. Finally I was brought to the 10th heaven, the highest of all, which is called Aravoth. I saw the appearance of the Lord's face, like iron made to glow in fire and brought out, emitting sparks, and it burns. Thus I saw the Lord's face, but the Lord's face is ineffable, marvelous, very awful, and very, very terrible. And who am I to tell of the Lord's unspeakable being and of his very wonderful face? And I cannot tell the quantity of his many instructions and various voices. The Lord's throne is very great and not made with hands, nor can I tell the quantity of those standing round him, troops of cherubim and seraphim, nor their incessant singing, nor his immutable beauty. And who shall tell of the ineffable greatness of his glory? I fell prone and bowed down to the Lord, and the Lord with his lips said to me, Have courage, Enoch. Do not fear, arise and stand before my face into eternity. Then the archangel Michael lifted me up and led me before the Lord's face. And the Lord said to his servants, testing them, Let Enoch stand before my face into eternity. And the glorious ones bowed down to the Lord and said, Let Enoch go according to your word. And the Lord said to Michael, Go, take Enoch out of his earthly garments and anoint him with my sweet ointment. Put him into the garments of my glory. And Michael did this as the Lord commanded him. He anointed me and dressed me, and the appearance of that ointment was more than the great light. And his ointment was like sweet dew, and its scent was mild, shining like the sun's ray. And I looked at myself, and I was like one of his glorious ones. And the Lord summoned one of his archangels, by name Pravuil, whose knowledge was quicker in wisdom than the other archangels, who wrote all the deeds of the Lord. And the Lord said to Pravuil, Bring out the books from my storehouses, and a reed of quick writing, and give it to Enoch. Deliver to him the choice and comforting books out of your hand. And he was telling me all the works of heaven, earth, and sea, and all the elements, their passages and goings, and the thunderings of the thunders, the sun and moon, their goings and changes, the stars, the seasons, years, days, and hours, the risings of the wind, the number of the angels, and the formation of their songs, and all human things, the tongue of every human song and life, the commandments, instructions, and sweet-voiced singings, and all things that it is fitting to learn. And Pravuil told me all the things that I have told you, we have written. Sit and write all the souls of mankind, however many of them are born, and the places prepared for them to eternity. For all souls are prepared to eternity before the formation of the world, and all, in double, 30 days and 30 nights. And I wrote out all things exactly, and wrote 366 books. And the Lord summoned me and said to me, Enoch, sit down on my left with Gabriel. And I bowed to the Lord, and the Lord spoke to me, Enoch, beloved, all that you see, all things that are standing finished I tell to you, even before the very beginning, all that I created from non-being, invisible things made visible, and physical things from the invisible. Hear, Enoch, and take in these my words, for not to my angels have I told my secret, and I have not told them their rise, nor my endless realm, nor have they understood my creating, which I tell you today. For before all things were visible, I alone used to go about in the invisible things, like the sun from east to west, and from west to east. But even the sun has peace in itself, while I found no peace, because I was creating all things. And I conceived the thought of placing foundations and of creating visible creation. And so Enoch's journey through the 10 heavens came to an end. From the celestial realms of light and glory to the prisons of fallen angels, from the storehouses of the stars to the very throne of God, Enoch witnessed mysteries beyond human comprehension. He saw the divine order of creation, the judgment awaiting the rebellious, and the eternal reward prepared for the righteous. Through it all, one truth remains clear: God reigns supreme over all the heavens and the earth. Enoch was chosen to behold and record these revelations not for himself alone, but for all generations to come, a message of warning, hope, and divine truth. Now, the question remains, what will we do with this knowledge? Will we seek righteousness and prepare our hearts for the eternal kingdom, or will we turn away, ignoring the heavenly mysteries revealed? The Book of Enoch gives us a glimpse of God's majesty, His justice, and His eternal plan. May we walk in faith and seek the Lord, so that when our time comes, we too may stand before His throne, clothed in His glory just as Enoch was. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the 10 heavens of Enoch. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more biblical mysteries revealed. Until next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you. Shalom.